Tonight we are doing a wonderful focused expose on you, your home, and the stuff you find in it. So this discussion actually begins with a lot of finger waving, a lot of shouldn't be doing that, a lot of self blame, a little bit of shame, a little bit of guilt, but we'll turn it over into where everybody should be able to find some good happiness in the end of it. The reason I say that is because it's very unique to me with a lot of individuals because we go through life either A, doing it like our mother did it and cleaning a house, or keeping our area as nice as we can. We enjoy things like the smell of bleach or pine sol or something along those lines because that makes us think clean. Um, and yet we don't realize what's going on, especially for a lot of people when it comes to things from IBS, headaches, skin irritations, general just sleeplessness, anxiety, mood disorders. All of this can be related to the chemicals that you have surrounding your home, in your house, used on your surfaces, and cross contamination issues. And that's one of those great places to be at, is to find other solution systems that can finally let you see some good changes. And it's unique because if we maybe would have talked to our grandmothers, great grandmothers, this would be the way they would actually clean and keep a house. It's unique because a lot of times when we go back to multi-purpose prairie or very rural agrarian living, everything had to be multi-purposed. Somewhere between the 40s and the 50s, all of a sudden we came to the idea that everything had to have a single purpose, and that made it good because it wasn't usable in different areas. So your glass cleaner was your glass cleaner, your furniture polish was your furniture polish. So everything had its own operation, and it was the best because it had a pretty label and a nice commercial, and Mr. Clean convinced you that that's the way to go. So it's unique because we really kind of come at our homes and our houses. And I would say, even for myself in my health journey, this was the last little place that I actually went to for healing. I didn't think of it at first. It didn't make sense to me. It started in my laundry room because I finally said, well, wait a minute. Whatever I'm putting on my clothes technically sits on me for 8, 10 hours a day, if not more. Whatever I'm putting on my sheets is obviously then going to be wrapped around me while I'm sleeping. If you're like me, you sweat a little bit. That means you get moisture and contacts. Whatever's in that bedding material is going to leach into your body. So yes, Tide smells amazing, but it does so in a lot of very negative ways and a lot of chemical compounds that actually aren't good for our human, especially endocrine system. So it's funny, fabric softener, same thing. The reason it smells almost what now I would say is very sickening sweet is because of all of the chemical compounds that are placed in there, pheromones, hormones, and those are what actually tell our nose and respectively our tongue that something is, like the smell of Tide or like the smell of fabric softener. Um, we a lot of times look at our countertops and we go, yeah, I just had some raw chicken on there. I've got to get out the bleach to kill this properly. And yet we find honestly that bleach only gets about 67% of most of the actual bacterias, molds, funguses, and things like that do exist on surfaces away from them. And a lot of times they do great on maybe the existing top surface, but don't really do a lot of function for porous mediums or anything that actually has routine exposure. Whereas we'll kind of learn a little bit about some other items and their functionality for getting your home up to ship top shape. So just like we do every Thursday, before we get anything deeper, I want everybody to be able to get that nice point of relaxation in the 1 minute meditation. So that way you can kind of open the air, breathe a little bit. We do have a really nice stress reducing and actually immune and respiratory boosting blend of oils that are in the back there. And this is one of those kind of nice ways to sort of get yourself exposed, get yourself smelling, sniffing, enjoying the idea of clean, healthy living. So everybody's been here at least once or twice, but for anybody who's joining or catching this online, what we do is we actually take 7 seconds of breathing in, holding for the few seconds after we do our inhalation, 8 seconds to breathe out. We push all the air out that we can possibly get out of our bodies. Then we take our second 7 second breath in, 8 seconds breath out. Then we have 30 seconds of space. So that's that 1 minute, and that gives you the ability to enjoy the rest of this evening. So If you'll join with me, go ahead and start with really focusing on that actual diaphragm down here and being able to actually take the air in order to really puff the stomach out and allow for the fullness of your breath to take over. So 7 seconds of breath in. 8 seconds of breath out. All the way down to nothing. There you go. 7 seconds of breath in. Holding. And 8 seconds of breath out. Wonderful. Okay, so anybody here already use alternative cleaning products to where it's still technically bought at a store, but packaged a little bit better, ingredients are a little bit natural. Again, everybody kind of got used to the idea, I think. See, we went to single purpose items in the 70s and 80s. Then we went to instant gratification packaging to where now you didn't even have to get a towel from underneath of the and reuse the same cloth to clean stuff. They gave you the disposable towels in order to actually see how cleaning can be so much more fun and enjoyable for the family by making it to where everything's already in the container. There's a lot of thought that went into putting compounds in for cleaning agents. One, they wanted them to be ultra caustic. That creates issues for the skin. A lot of times, the synthetic compounds, again, are used as either preservatives to where the compound that's inside there wouldn't spoil. It would actually keep it from settling. That's where a lot of our polysorbitols and things like that, the propylene glycols and things of that nature, came in because they really needed to make sure that shelf stable material was going to perform and smell and do everything that it was supposed to do from the time it left the factory to the time you got to use that product. It's unique because when we kind of shop around, we sort of find that there is some thought going into this now. We do see companies, seventh generation, Honest, a lot of companies really striving to go back to natural focused products. But it's not that I would say personally that that's the best way to go because there's simpler, easier, less expensive ways of doing this. So the idea is ultra convenience usually is ultra expensive. And you can really begin to help yourself when you actually start to just look at having the components available for you to be able to start to do your own cleaning in a very, very healthy way. Anybody here use hydroperoxide for cleaning? Use too? So one of the things that's interesting when it comes to hydroperoxide is that anyone here who's actually been to a hospital knows when they walk in the door, they don't smell anything. So obviously they're not using bleach, but yet they try to keep as sterile of an environment as they possibly can. And this is the way that they actually do that. No smell, no overtone, no odors, no harm to a person. And as long as it's properly diluted, not actually in a high concentration value, it's not damaging or harmful to humans. A little bit too high in its strength, it can be caustic to the skin. But again, all it does is bubble up a little bit. It's really not that thing. You'll maybe eat through clothes if you put it on too strong. Well, hydrogen peroxide, activated hydrogen peroxide, which is the H2O3. Yeah, the 35% molar, correct, and that is the true high grade material. The brown bottle stuff. Again, I hope no one's swishing with this, or are you putting this in their ears, or doing anything like that to clean, because this is actually meant for electronics, really, and not actually human tissue. Hydrogen peroxide that's in the brown bottle is something that I would use on surfaces, but the 35% molar high grade, food grade hydrogen peroxide is something that's actually very beneficial, but you have to be at least a little bit informed on how to be a chemist to take 10 milliliters of it and mix it with 100 milliliters of water to get down to a 3.5% solution system. So when you're mixing a bottle, you've got to go through a little bit of a calculation in order to get it to where you actually have the right concentration coming out of the nozzle, so it's not extremely caustic. But when it comes to cleaning everything from microbes to bacteria, viruses, mold spores, funguses, anything that you actually don't want to be around your person, this is the strongest solution system that I know how to. Hyperoxygenation of the environment means most microbes technically can't survive even on the point of contact. And the unique thing about it is that even wiping it away, there's still a protective layer that's actually on the surface that creates a condition to where the next virus or bacteria or anything that comes onto the surface will die faster. And so you get a much longer protection system with hydrogen peroxide. And again, very little smell. So it's wonderfully beneficial to the human body and to our natural environment to be exposed to technically just hyper water is really all hydrogen peroxide is, and allow for that to be a really, really good cleaning solution for all your day-to-day use, surface systems. You can use it to clean vegetables, anything that's been exposed to the upper atmosphere. You can use it as a fruit wash in order to actually clear and clean anything that's landed on the fruits and vegetables before you eat them. You can even sanitize meat that you may not think is particularly healthy by putting it in hydrogen peroxide and actually allow for it to be a meat wash as well too. Um, Again, it's one of those where I'd say we are close to 70% of what we clean now is going to be hydrogen peroxide in my home. Best thing for toys, for slobbery children, for anything dogs touch, cat boxes, anything that you might not like or think that essentially could cause a contamination issue to your body. Definitely one of those where hydrogen peroxide is very wonderful. Yes. So 10 milliliters to 100 milliliters of water will take a 35% molar food grade hydrogen peroxide to a 3.5 standard use hydrogen peroxide. For fruit wash and things like that, you end up going down to like 14 by only doing half that. So you'll do 50-50 water and peroxide to get rid of a lot of the waxes and pesticides and a lot of the oil-based compounds. Even when it comes to rice, quinoa, things like that of grains, it's actually beneficial to soak them through a little bit of hydrogen peroxide. And it actually will clear and clean anything that's exposed to the air is going to have some bacterial microbe compounds to it. And it's great to be thinking about that and cleansing if you're a person who's ultra sensitive. This is one of those where a lot of food sensitivity issues that are people are being expressive to, they want to blame a particular casein, protein, or gluten compound. And a lot of times it's really the environment that's on the food that's causing more of the issue, or the pesticides or fertilizers that are put into them, which it's a little bit hard to control. But hopefully you've moved past that stage and you're finally actually selecting good quality fruits and vegetables, growing your own, doing a couple of those nice things for yourself. As we kind of go through and understand, there is a ton of benefit to just understanding the power of simple compounds. Before refrigerators, technically speaking, salt was the main preservation technique for all foodstuffs. They salted meat, they salt dried or air dried fruits, vegetables, canned, pickled, brine solution, which is salt water, in order to get it to where food particles would actually last for longer than a couple days without spoiling. As a cleaning agent, really you can do everything from shine copper down to the idea of actually cleaning your own feet, toenail funguses, boils. You can do a lot with the actual gentle cleansing of salt water in everything from the mouth to the ears. Not so much the eyes. Trying to stay away from that. That doesn't do so nice. But again, it is one of those where even if it is an extremely deep laceration, especially puncture wounds, baking soda extraction for anything that could be lodged is actually a really interesting system, and then salt covering to just be very, very cleansing. It'll burn, but the burn is actually a good thing. Salt's really one of these main compounds that I would say most people have sort of grown fearful of because of high blood pressure, heart disease, issues like that. And it's really not what we find very commonly occurring in what we see. Sea salts are very, very different than rock salts. Rock salts shouldn't be eaten by humans. They should be used to make ice cream, and they should actually be used to salt roads and roads only. Edible salts are very, very different in their structure and don't cause the body concerns that we're sort of looking after. But it is definitely one of those to where we like for people to be able to think about salt more as one of the healing compounds for the human body. We all need a certain level or certain quality of salt in our bloodstream to maintain proper homeostasis, to keep our nerves in good function, to allow for there to be reduced swelling and pressure, edemas, and things of that nature, to where our solute balance is so critical. And the level of salt intake usually has a lot to do with how well your body is balanced in terms of hydration. So there's a huge factor here for a lot of people to kind of understand how to get in better control of their own body with using just a simple compound as salt on a routine basis. Magnesium rich salts, of course, are always preferred. I do a lot of salt bathing. We do a fantastic, wonderful thing here in Temecula called the FloatX or Float Experience, where they take a what was that 150-gallon tub, and I think they add 1,000 pounds of Epsom salt. And it's pretty amazing what happens because the body just absorbs a ton of really good healing agents like the magnesium and sulfur, to where Epsom salts are another fantastic way for people to rid their system of any kind of heavy chemical laden material, such as even icy hots, pharmaceuticals for pain relief, and finding that magnesium is the controlling element for actually healing pain and sensitivities in the body. Vertigo sufferers, mood swing sufferers, a lot of stomach cramping, indigestion is a lot of times just lack of magnesium. So we see that in our five essentials as being one of the most critical compounds for getting back into the body. And if you're not eating your salt that's magnesium rich, you could be laying in a very wonderful, very nice bathtub that's got magnesium rich salts in it as well too. And that is very cleansing for people who have psoriasis, eczema, issues with the skin, scalp issues, dandruff issues, acne conditions. Those salts are very cleansing. They're very rehabilitating. They actually will reinvigorate cell production. So there's a fantastic relationship that we have with salt that we've kind of lost because of a lot of fear mongering, a lot of misinformation about what the compound was supposed to do for us, and how natural salts again have a very different chemical composition and how they benefit our bodies in such a better way. So it's interesting to me that we've lost connection. I mean, besides coloring eggs, I don't know of many households that buy vinegar very often anymore. It's unique because, again, this is one of those compounds that actually blows Windex out of the water for not being a chemical constituent, and yet extremely clean, sheer shine glass windows. Um, it's funny because newspaper and vinegar does the best job for cleaning any type of grease stains, anything on a glass, handprints, anything of that nature, because of its ability to break the oils down that are actually allowing for the residue to remain on the glass. Vinegar does that by having a very high pH. There's a lot of different styles of vinegar: apple cider vinegar, rice vinegar, white vinegar, red vinegar, wine vinegars. There's Jun vinegar. There's pickle vinegars. There's a lot of different styles out there. They all have different chemical properties. But one of the more interesting things for a lot of people is that there's a lot of benefits to taking vinegar compounds after a meal to where you're ultra bloated or have a lot of indigestion. It'll help decrease the pH of the stomach and allow for better breakdown of food. For people who are low acid producers, this becomes a fantastic benefit system for the human body. It creates everything for people, again, if you're trying to pH balance your body. Um, you can work with compounds like positive power where it actually creates the overall benefit to the body by creating pH balance and bouncing back and forth between drinking a little bit of baking soda, which is great for increasing your alkalinity, or if you need extra acidity in order to digest or break food down, you take in vinegar. Capful, half a capful at a time. Baking soda, a lot of people should be taking a teaspoon and maybe 8 to 10 ounces of water. Not directly after a meal. A lot of times before a meal is better, or right before you go to sleep, to where you've got some pH balancing liquid floating in the bloodstream overnight. You can take too much baking soda and hyperalkaline yourself. The pH of baking soda is a 12.5. The pH of vinegar is 2.4. So, and you want to try to reach a 7. Standard spring water is about a 7.2 to 7.3. So you want to be the balance of spring water. But if you're having a lot of fluctuations and inabilities of controlling pH in your body, you can use very healthy home compounds for actually seeing this start to work for your body. And there is a lot of benefit to learning. Instead of jumping on a Tums tablet for solving antacid issues, sipping a little bit of baking soda water does the same effect, and it actually creates better body balance in the pH of a person. You don't have to drink the whole cup. The idea is you drink until you don't feel the actual acid reflux or acid burn that's occurring after a bad meal. Now, here's that funny thing is that as a health coach, I find a lot of people who eat the same thing, even though they know the last night or whenever they last had it, it caused major indigestion. They I don't know, haven't learned from enough. I don't know. There's that whole concepts of, um, yeah, that it's really one of those funny things that you get reinforced enough that you keep coming back for more. I don't know. I guess the advertising must be good for some of those food places that create a lot of indigestion. Um, but it is something to where you've got solution systems that are much more healthy for the body. A teaspoon. Yep, in about 8 to 10 ounces. And you don't have to drink the whole thing. The idea is you sip until you feel that your body actually reduces the acid level and your stomach starts to calm. Um, there's a tremendous benefit in even combining the two. Baking soda, very high alkalinity. Vinegar, very low or very high acidity. Creates an extreme science project bubble reaction, fizzing volcano. But this is one of the strongest and most natural ways of if you start to have a drain clog, you just toss in the baking soda, let it sit for a few seconds. Those particulates get around the clog, the hair, whatever's stuck in there. If you've got 3/4 of a soggy diaper in your toilet because somebody's decided to flush that, I don't know if it's going to get that out. But the funny thing is that most of your standard plug issues, you put the dry baking powder in first, and then you actually just pour and cover with the vinegar. The pressure of the bubbling, the fizzing actually will erode a lot of the organic compounds, and eventually you'll flush with hot water and it'll shove whatever's inside the drain without using Drano. Which part? If you drink too much of it? It is a 2.4. It is a high acid, yes. So don't swish with it. You don't want it coating your teeth. If you're going to drink it, then you drink it, and you usually flush with some kind of water to balance that reaction. Um, Hopefully, you're not drinking more than a capful on a routine basis. It's not something where this is a really fun liquid to be drinking. It doesn't taste that great. Pickles are fantastic, but that's also a diluted version of vinegar. Um, well, apple cider vinegar is a little different because it does actually taste pretty good, but it still is a high acid. And that's where it's unique because with the apple cider vinegar, it's touted as a panacea of health, and it's ultimately so it can cause some issues in a person as well. So we want to watch being able to take vinegars on a routine basis. Um, there is a lot of good functionality in using it in the right way, but being very calm about it. Yes, Phil. Uh-huh. Oh yeah, yeah, tons of fun. Again, really, really good uh, science stuff when you start to play around with that. But the idea is for home cleaning. If you have a what's that one little trick? Say you're a person experimenting with shake and bake chicken, which you should never eat shake and bake chicken, or you're doing some type of breading on an item and frying it in a pan. One of the interesting things that you can actually do is just pour and slightly heat the pan, pour vinegar until you cover over all of the crusted material and wait literally 2 hours and literally just wipes off because all the oils that were connecting the burnt material to the pan are eliminated. So there are a lot of tips and tricks and fun little things in the handout that you were given this evening that actually help you see ways of kind of incorporating these. And one of those things, again, easy off is probably the most lung damaging material minus smoking that you can have in your house on a routine basis. And yet, for some reason, it became the only way to clean a stove, so much so that the stoves have an easy off setting to where you spray it on the inside, fog your whole house, and then essentially turn on the heat and actually make those compounds extremely volatile. Turn on the fan, and yeah, it does capture a majority of it, but there's still a majority or still a percentage that's going inside your home, to where you just don't need to do that. We have other ways of cleaning things. Again, I don't know what happened to the whole power of elbow grease in the last 50 years, but it went somewhere. Probably onto the remote to where we could just be able to finger the channel changer over and over again. But so elbow grease went down to the thumb, and the thumb became the most powerful piece that we could do for ourselves. Um, so it's interesting because we really do want to understand if you're bitten by a rattlesnake, please seek help. But if you're too far away for being able to get to help within about 30 to 40, 50 minutes, pour baking soda on it. If you have to, in an extreme situation to where there's not likely you're going to get help in the next half a day or day, as much as it may not be fun, give a sharp implement to your friend, have them lacerate the area where the puncture wounds are for the actual snake bite, and pour baking soda in there. It sucks up the venom and makes it to where it doesn't go into the bloodstream, which is very key and critical. But if you're not getting bitten by rattlesnakes routinely, for bees, for mosquitoes, for any type of small insects that actually create a welted or raised location, doing just a small bit of water to where you actually get the baking soda to be a paste will take whatever toxin compounds that they injected in you as they were biting you, and it pulls them out. So you can go from having a leg full of a fun time at the beach where it shows, or at the lake, to where you've got nothing but bug bites all over, to where you just dab a little bit on each location and it actually will pull the toxicity out. If you're a person who's a little bit anaphylactic or reactive to bees, same concept. You'll just pull the venom out. The baking soda absorbs it, leaves it out of the bloodstream. You don't get a major welt. You don't get hives. You don't get any kind of other reaction to the body. So a ton of benefits from baking soda. I really, really like using baking soda as a toothpaste. It becomes a compound that I mix a lot of times with things like zeolite clay um, and hydrogen peroxide to create the fizzy reaction, and that gets in there and actually cleans all that stuff out to where you're not, to where you're not getting a lot of buildup on the teeth. And I use things like turmeric powder and that as well too for a toothpaste. But it is one of those to where baking soda baths are amazing for people who have a lot of eczema, a lot of pH balance reaction issues inside their blood or their lymph, and they're trying to get that to balance for their body. Instead of drinking this continuously, which can actually cause stomach acid reduction, if you put it on the skin, your body can regulate through the skin so much easier. So you can add in half a box of baking soda to a bath and do that once or twice a week and keep testing your pH with the pH strips to find out where your body actually gets to an alkaline balance. I know a lot of people struggle with keeping ourselves in the alkaline range, 7.2 to 7.5, nothing higher. But this is one of those great compounds that you can use in multiple different ways in order to actually see some benefits coming into the body. So it's unique because we actually have products that we can, again, multi-purpose. Before we ever had a lot of the modern inventions of today's medicines, um, iodine was a very common sanitizing compound. It was used in everything from field surgery. It was used in different types of treatments towards lesions, lacerations that we actually were able to get in and clean tissue deeply by doing iodine flushing. It still has that same functionality and potency today. We use it a lot now for treating things like hypothyroidism, for balancing an immune system for the body, and it is actually good for a dietary system to be taken into the body. But we also can use this as a surface cleaner. It can be used to literally clean our foods. Again, it's one of those where we see a lot of benefit from even exposing areas where we just have routine skin infections, irritations, to just a little bit of even diluted water, diluted water with iodine. Um, for a good, for anything serious, use it straight. Let it stain the skin. For anything that's actually a little bit um, not a breakage or a laceration of the skin, but just a skin irritation, do 4 or 5 drops to maybe 2 ounces of water and just flush the area with that. You can do ear cleansing with this. You can swish if you actually just recently had any kind of oral surgery in order to prevent infection. Um, so there is a lot of benefits to having iodine. Iodine is a fantastic water purifier, and it's definitely something that most people should have in their emergency, especially 24 to 72 hour earthquake kits. Because if you have really, really poor water available, but that's all you can drink, you put in 15 to 25 drops, let it sit for about 2 hours, and shake a few times, rotate the water around, but it will kill any of the microbes that are in that water, so at least you don't get immediately sick. It's a very, very high probability towards the idea of keeping yourself alive, but it is one of those where those are obviously bad situations already. Sue? Everybody out there, we usually like to have them start with 1 drop of iodine in about 4 to 8 ounces of water. So that 1 drop will give us the ability in the first 30 days to see how your body's reacting to taking dietary iodine and see if there is secondary steps in the process of trying to find, if your body has any kind of adverse reactions. A lot of times when it comes to just healing hypothyroidism, we need to use other compounds in conjunction with iodine in order to see some big change in the body. And we have to just gauge that on an individual person by person basis. People who are a little bit more reactive on the tendency towards thyroid toxemia or Hashimoto's, a lot of times need to start with compounds like selenium first, and detoxing different compounds like the chlorine, fluorine, and bromine out by taking quality sea salts, detoxify compound, TMG, MSM first in order to pull bad compounds out before they start putting the good compound back in. But to answer the question directly, how much iodine to start with? 1 drop, 4 to 8 ounces of water. If you are feeling flush, warm, kind of feverish, or the opposite, skin kind of gets clammy, pale, you start sweating, the idea is you probably need to reduce or cut back. So watch out for those types of reactions, and ask the question, hey, what do I do now? This happened. See where your body is. So definitely don't come at this bottle thinking that there is an instantaneous sort of solution, but there also, can't be a very fast reacting negative to it as well too. It's one of those where we just have to understand what's occurring in our body as we're trying to heal in order to find the best system for each individual person. There is a lot of research that goes into iodine being one of the most critical compounds for people who are worried about breast health, ovarian health, a lot of the reproductive cancers, because it's so critical in the immune function and actually allowing for the body to operate properly for all the different hormones that it produces by regulating the thyroid itself. Very, very critical in this whole process. So we see a lot of iodine deficiency. You can be tested to where you can get a serum iodine test and actually find out how much iodine's in your bloodstream. If you test low, then obviously that's giving you a pretty good indicator, time to get some iodine back in the body. But when it comes to home detox, like I say, it's unique because this compound was the standard of care 100 years ago. That was the way we treated really everything when it came to skin abrasions, any type of lacerations, and we can use it to do everything from clean surfaces to disinfect, very, very, very nasty things. So if you're a person who deals with a lot of really potentially dangerous compounds, a lot of raw meats, a lot of sewage, a lot of things like that. This is definitely a way to just assure yourself that you're cleaning things a little bit more effectively, as well as the hydroperoxide. Iodine and hydroperoxide, in the presence of them, very few microbes can even survive. So it's one of those where, unlike a lot of the people who talk about, and I think this is one of those that say, oh yeah, we get 99.99%. The 0.01% of things that survive are really, really bad bugs. Like, it's not the ones that are like, oh, that 0.01% are the nice guys, and it's okay that they survive on a surface after you wipe with that. No, no, no. Usually those are the ones that actually destroy humans, and they're the ones who cause flesh-eating bacteria, or they're the ones who create other compounds that are very toxic to a human body. So we want to get 100%. That's the whole point. Something that's partially effective for cleaning surfaces is not fun. It's not doing its job. Iodine, hydroperoxide do a fantastic process in that. Some bacteria love high acidic environments. Vinegar doesn't kill them. Some bacteria, again, even with high quality alcohol, isopropyl alcohol, they're not bothered by it. It doesn't affect them. Their cells clam up. They go into kind of more of a spore or cystic state to where they just isolate themselves, and then when it's back to normal environment, they are right there again. So there are benefits to cleaning with alcohol, especially because you can set things on fire. So it's a fantastic way of cleaning things that it's like I say, my kids aren't there yet, but soon. To pour it is so fun because the flames like there, it just bubbles and then it's gone. You're like, wait. So tons of fun in chemistry class with this guy. But alcohol sanitization is another one of those where a lot of times for things where a person, especially communicable areas where you have care for people who are currently sick, alcohol sanitization is one of the strongest systems that you can do for making sure that none of the bacterias or anything exchanging. I know with Victor now, the idea is you don't want anything coming in contact with his foot that could potentially create a cross-contamination issue. So, with an open sore like that, with taking care of people through their illnesses, anything that's going to be exchanged or could be potentially exchanged, you want to use something as strong as alcohol, peroxide, or iodine to be able to clean those surfaces and be able to get it to where you can keep yourself extremely healthy. Again, hydrogen peroxide works on everything from spas and hot tubs. They have fantastic systems, ways of cleaning. Instead of using high-density chlorine, shock tablets, things like that, which are actually very, very deadly to the thyroid gland, to the intestines, to the skin. Again, the less exposure you could have to chlorine on a routine basis, the healthier your overall body type will be. Yes, water aerobics are fun, but try to find a pool that's actually salt maintained instead of chlorine maintained. You will literally save yourself years of thyroid dysfunction in the end. So if you're a person who likes the pool and goes there routinely, understand that you're exposing yourself to a lot of chlorine, and that chlorine, not only are you breathing it in, but it's being absorbed through the skin on a routine basis. So it's unique because I think we mentioned a few of these other ones. So anybody here have achy joints, muscles, things that they like to not have hurt anymore? Okay. So before professional athletes endorsed icy hot for every type of pain you could possibly imagine. DMSO is actually the one step away from MSM for creating really high quality organic sulfur. And when you put this topically on an area of pain, it actually works in order to bring in a lot of tension and muscle relief. And so DMSO is kind of the original chemical component to where Icy Hot's functional. And the chemical system that they use for Icy Hot, again, you don't need to expose yourself to that. This is just high quality sulfur, dimethylated sulfur, DMSO, instead of methyl methyl sulfonomethane. So one methyl group on top of it. This is dimethyl sulfate. So the unique thing is with DMSO is this is a fantastic product to have along with your magnesium gel, along with your other anti-inflammatories like MSM and turmeric, ginger, to actually start battling anytime you have headaches, muscle aches, back aches, anything to go onto the surface of the body, and see how you can start to feel a little bit of relief instead of going for pharmaceutical compounds. And really, like I say, you're cleaning out this cabinet of material to where a majority of it you think there's no other option, and yet there have been for a long time really, really good healthy options that are available. Zeolite compound, one of the things in using high efficiency washers is they are the most mold and fungus spreading things I've ever heard in terms of inventions for the human household. Low water using washing machines create a condition where the clothes get kind of wet, roll around for a little while, and then go into this dryer. It's really, really sad because, again, we love to be energy efficient. We love to be water conserving. We've been given an edict from the people in Sacramento that we have to now do this 25%. So I get the whole concept, but they took away the most simple cleaning device in the house that was one of the greatest inventions that I think any matriarch would have loved, is going away from the clothing what is that, the scrub pan, the washboard, yes, and you could just drop the clothes in an item in a machine and it would do it for you. But the one trick we've been able to find out about how to remove a lot of the mold, a lot of the fungus and mildew that's inside the HE systems, is using zeolite powder on a routine basis. Not only that, but we have done everything from hydroperoxide shocking. We've used different types of essential oils to just get that stinking smell out of there. Zeolite seems to do a pretty good job. It suffocates all of the compounds and does a fantastic job. So zeolite's one of these amazing home detox compounds that you bought the washer thinking you were doing a good thing, and now you're stuck in a situation where you're kind of wishing you wouldn't have. So that becomes a really, really nice benefit. Come on in. Welcome. So one of the other interesting pieces that I'd like to share with you this evening is this compound called Biosense. Anybody here afraid of MRSA? No. Should be? No, you shouldn't be. This kills it, 100%. Biosense. Bios or CENCE. Yes. This little bottle here is being tested on everything from Ebola to AIDS, and it's doing really, really well. 100% essential oil extracts, all plant-based, no problems in the human body. Can be taken as a preventative, is really, really super effective, especially along with our immunity matrix for boosting your natural immune system, as being a great ingestible for fighting a lot of respiratory illnesses, stomach issues. But the beautiful piece that I say for a lot of individuals is that this does a fantastic job of getting rid of some of the more common bacteriums that we carry with us every single day, all day long, but cause problems whenever our immune system starts to drop and actually becomes a concern. No. Biosense is its own particular company. If you'd like information on it, just email me, and we'll figure out how we can get it to where you can see that product available for you. But this is one of those where, like iodine, like peroxide, I just don't go anywhere without it. It's there in my daily lifestyle. My kids take this. They're 3 and 4. They get this whenever they start to sniffle. And it's been one of those fantastic antiseptics. You can use this everything from being an actual fogging device, and that's one of the interesting ways they're using it to fight Ebola in Africa. Is they're actually able to not expose workers to the people who are already infected. They just set up the fogging stations. It blows through the town like a mist, kills all the bacteria, and actually lets the workers come in a week later when everyone's starting to heal and not dying from the actual active infection. So wonderful. Not going to hear about that in the news. Trust me, the vaccine's the only solution. So yeah, but this beautiful way of seeing a lot of great work. But the active compounds in here are just simple plants. There's nothing more to it, and yet they do the best job I've seen at eradicating a lot of what is potentially going to harm the super bugs that we have now, the bacteriums that are actually not responding to to the highest grades of laboratory generated antibiotics are dead within 10 seconds or so. I mean, literally, some of them are 2 seconds, and some of them the camera can't even catch how fast they die. Direct contact. Now, that's one of the interesting pieces about a lung infection, is that you might need to breathe this. If it's an ear infection, it has to go in the ear. It does accumulate in body tissues, just like any other compound, and there can be benefit from taking it routinely. Yes, yes. On yes, yes. Not as strong towards the ability of, say, like when you're dealing with an actual flu, but for cleansing the air and actually making it to where, especially respiratory viruses, aren't being transferred from person to person or moved around. Then yeah, very big benefit there. Not here. No. Let me know if you're looking for it, if you'd like some. Definitely a great way of boning up your arsenal of antimicrobials. So it's unique because then we have, let's see, this product here, Extreme Clean. Probably the thing that I recently discovered. It's actually a very simple chemical compound that's very similar to sodium salt or borax. And the unique thing about it is that I don't know, maybe we'll do a demonstration on it a little later. For people who like things to be extra white, and that's what they believe to be clean, I've not seen anything perform better than this. And when it comes to the idea that bleach is the only thing that actually gets things white, I've done the test strips on grout systems and done bleach on one side and this on the other, and it doesn't even compare. It's funny. This is glistening white, safe to actually be put onto any color. Doesn't bleach anything the way that bleach does. You can drink it. It doesn't really hurt you. Eventually, it'll give you a little bit of diarrhea, but for the starting effect, it's a great tool for people who are trying to eliminate a lot of those very caustic cleaners that they believe have to be a part of their daily lives. So all of those fun, wonderful things are here to help us be healthier by not allowing for under our sinks, in our bathrooms, in our garages to be full of toxic compounds that cause a tremendous amount of body issues. People are ultra sensitive to these things. Residues of them linger, so it is one of those to where when you're trying to see your health improve to that next level, this can be an amazing step in your process. If you, well, cats hate vinegar, so that's a benefit. Um, Hydrogen peroxide in a dog's water will actually stop their stomach viruses. They will drink iodine water the same as we do. Um, the extreme clean, they can drink it. Again, it's just going to give them the runs. Um, there's a local supplier and dealer if you're looking for information. I have those details as well too. Um, I wouldn't feed them DMSO. Horses love DMSO. It helps them run races. It is good for big dogs that actually have muscle aches or like sore, achy joints, to where they're carrying too much weight. Um, I've not tried. Have I tried Biosense? No, I don't think I've tried Biosense on my dogs. I'd be interested. I definitely think there's application there. Um, and I don't know. I wouldn't give anybody alcohol. Hopefully, the isopropyl. But no, I mean, there's some standard care. Obviously, you don't want them, eating or drinking any of this for a long period of time. Um, but but no major, yeah. And that's the beautiful piece in this, is that these are all life protecting, life balancing, very, very not life damaging, or to where it has a lot of cautionary sort of tales to it. Um, so again, it's one of these beautiful things where I love for people to understand what I did against my wife's wishes. Was I went into my cabinet and I actually pulled everything we had in our little station underneath of our sink to clean stuff with. And I'm like, I got to talk today. I'm gonna take this all with me. I'll bring it back tonight. Don't try to clean anything. Um, so it was funny because she's actually said today was her day to be home to clean. And I go, yeah, that's a really interesting, funny game you're playing there with me. But it is one of those interesting things where this is my system. This is the thing that took me about 2 years to get to this. I'll have to admit, it wasn't fast. It wasn't easy. Anything that smelled atrocious, we threw out immediately. A lot of the stuff we're like, well, that doesn't really have a bad smell. Maybe that's okay. And then we'd find out, no, really, there's nothing good about that at all. And that's because we finally started using on a much more routine basis um, a lot of the essential oil products. And this became the thing that for my wife actually brought happiness, as she says it, back to her home. Because when we switched to a lot of these zero smell or vinegar, bad smell cleaning products, she was always left with that, like, this isn't clean to me. I don't sense clean. I need to smell the clean. And it's very unique because as we started using a lot of these great compounds, we found ourselves getting into, if you want to smell the antiseptic blend, um, really, really good material that actually seemed to tell the scent of the house, like, oh yeah, that's clean. That's actually the way clean should smell. It's got a lemony zest to it. It's got a little bit of like a fir needle to it. It's definitely something where people could finally say, hey, you put something in the mop water and now I can actually smell that you're cleaning your house again. You're not just that type of person who takes one big shop broom and pushes everything underneath the TV stand. But that's one of those unique things where essential oils, as they're naturally functional, are both medicines and, even with the Biosense product, natural agents for health and healing. They do a tremendous function for the body. They allow for our different amino acids to be produced, our neurotransmitters to be functional. They can do everything from technically mood balance and support all the way to where that antiseptic blend is one of those that we use as a surface cleanser with our hydrogen peroxide to finally make it smell like clean. Um, and there's added benefits to having all of those compounds be on the surface because the essential oils actually will maintain a clean surface much longer. They will actually be antimicrobial for as long as that oil residue is actually on that surface. So it's unique. It's one of those to where there's a lot of benefits in trying to find solutions. I don't know if anybody else is experiencing that little bit of stuffiness from the storm, but that's the respiratory blend. Nice eucalyptus base. Um, And although a lot of people kind of go at essential oils from a place of, I don't really know enough about it, I'm not going to really dive too far into it, it's unique because when you get a really good company that actually just keeps things very simple, having a pre-purchased blend is the nice way of not needing to know all the details about it, but just understanding that there's a power and there's a function. And the more you use them, and Phil's probably one of my best examples here, the more you use them, the more you start to understand, oh, this is what I need to be learning about. This is how it works. Don't put cinnamon oil in your eyes, things like that come up. Um, um, but it is one of those to where we can see a lot of protective power, but I'm using, again, a lot of these materials here today to focus more on the home and to actually be something beneficial in the way that you would live and operate your house. So it's unique that you can actually do little sachets or scent strips for any of these. If you're having someone come into your home and you want to do something more mood supporting, mood balancing, it's unique because you can actually find out from them what scents they like if they're coming and visiting your house, and have it ready for them. Put it in a diffuser, let them walk in, let them smell something they actually enjoy, that they say, oh yeah, I really like the scent of orange or the scent of something, that actually allows for the body to be better functioning. High density oregano oil is another one of these great compounds that I would say everybody who's looking to be healthy and to know how to pack a very high ultimate punch into your body for getting rid of stomach flus, infections, those types of issues and illnesses. Definitely a way of striving for um, for knowledge on how to be healthier, longer. And there isn't much that I've been able to come in contact with in these last few years that doesn't withstand a couple of days of the oregano oil. Rosemary, same thing. Really, really good antiviral. There's a lot of definite benefits here. During the Black Plague on fir and pine, they a lot of times found that the cities that burnt the tree resins from pine tars in their central areas, their communal areas, didn't get as much of a death rate. And there is some power that comes away from understanding that you can be in complete control of your environment and your setting by having a lot of the essential oils available. Um, Again, there's a ton of detail that can go into this, but the point of, like I say, where we're bridging the gap here is that a lot of the cleaning products and getting rid of the chemical compounds is promoting the idea of adding things like essential oils back into your daily life, so you can actually see some benefits. I've got some prefabbed bottles up here for anybody who'd like to come up and look through the selection to where they can go home with a diluted blend and be able to actually use that for themselves, whether they're wanting something that's more on the mood focus, a little bit of antiseptic, or material that'll actually do well for surface cleansing or skin cleansing, down to some really good joint inflammation ones that actually have just a tremendous benefit for anybody who's looking to go home and be able to try one of these and see how they like using it for themselves. But again, this class does a tremendous piece that I would say for myself at expressing to everybody how fun and critical it is to get your health and the environment you live in and your wellness to be the focus of what you're doing with your day-to-day activities, and expressing the body in the best way possible. Because if we can eliminate the influx of bad compounds and things that are affecting our bodies, then we can probably a lot of times start seeing our health improve much more rapidly. So that's where there's a tremendous level of benefit and power in this. But I understand it's tough. We like our stuff. We try to keep it with us as much as possible. But there are ways of going around it that I'm always here to help and love being that type of support system. Yes, questions. No. Zeolite's an adjunct. I use soap nuts as my natural laundry detergent. hmm Research it. It's fun. Charlie's or borax. Oh, she was. Okay. In her laundry? Yeah. It would be it would be cleansing. I mean, there is definitely. I mean, there's no way my wife would let that happen. She hates the smell of vinegar. I'm maybe a little bit. Maybe there's a hint after they get taken out of the wash, but maybe by the time they're drying, all the vinegar scent is gone. I mean, I think you'd smell like fish and chips, for half the time. Yeah, oils do a great job. Again, what's funny is that once my oldest son finally his skin stopped being hyper reacted to everything, we did go back to some of the more natural style laundry detergents. But at the first 2 years, we couldn't use anything, which is where we found soap nuts. And soap nuts are these really cool, interesting little balls that are a tree nut that actually, when they get water around them, they create the sudsing reaction or they create soap. It's non-lye containing, which is one of the big things we found was hyperreactive to my son's skin. And so that was one of the best things that we could do. But now he seems to be okay, and so we've gone a little bit back on the idea of doing just the very basic free and clear kind of non-scented seventh generation, those types of soaps, or Charlie's or Miracle Soap, which is a really, really good one. Miracle Soap is a fantastic product that a lot of people do enjoy using. Um, Definite benefits there. Yes, I don't trust anything that comes from Amway, but um, but that yeah, it's just one of those where I haven't looked into them much. I try not to support MLMs, so that's my big thing. There's other, like you're saying, there's local people who've done their own personal research into finding very natural, and I go with them first. If there was no other options, then I might get back to something like that. But not that I just haven't looked at their particular product line to say good or bad. Any other big questions? Any other fun things tonight? Like I say, I hope somebody learned at least one thing they can do for themselves. Um, and like I say, feel free to come up. Let me know what you'd like to mix into a bottle. Go home with at least a little bit of an essential oil product to try for yourself. And that way, there's a lot of fun in that. There's a lot of follow up on this one because, again, a lot of people might go away from this going, I'm not listening to that guy. I like my bleach and it smells good. I don't care what he says. Um, but the funny thing is maybe you get to that point where it actually either has a purpose or a reason, and there's something that actually makes sense, or it's just it finally gets to that point where you're like, okay, I feel like I have the energy to finally go through and get rid of all that material. So again, it's one of those funny processes where it took years to get to the point where I even thought that it was important enough to look underneath the kitchen sink and see what was there. So it's definitely a part of people's processes. Uh, I didn't. I kind of was keeping it a little bit away from food. Although we had a very good example here with Victor's foot injury. Honey is the best skin regeneration stimulant that we can find. So that's the main reason honey was is such a huge regenerator for skin system. Um, yeah. Yeah. Raw honey. Egg whites. Yeah. It's funny because the heat goes out of your skin, which is what's going to continue to create the blistering. It goes into the eggs and cooks the eggs and not your hand. So it's a transference of the actual blistering energy, the leftover heat. Because when you I mean, if you put the 100 or 212-degree water, it takes a while for it to dissipate. And that's probably where the honey also does a tremendous benefit because it absorbs that heat as well too. But when it comes to especially abrasions, large open cuts, big sores, places where you've actually ground the skin and meat off of your body, fill that area full of honey. If it's bleeding actively, cinnamon first. That stops the actual the blood loss, and then coat it with honey and then wrap it. Of course, of course. But yeah, yeah, that's a pretty good honey though. They do have some pristine, really amazing honeys from China, but no. Well, with TPP happening, like I say, it's all we're going to get is Chinese products from now on. But it is kind of interesting. Like I say, we've got a lot of stuff here. If there's anything that you personally have more questions on, feel free. If you're watching this YouTube video or catching this online, feel free to drop comments to where we can actually respond back to you. If you need to ask me a personal question regarding anything we talked about tonight or anything just regarding your health and wellness, my email is joseph@rrsuperfoods.com. We'll look forward to hearing back from you. And of course, one of the big challenges, since we do have viewers who are catching us each week on the live stream or through YouTube, send us over your topics, your conversations. So let us know what you'd like for us to work on here for you. It definitely would be a great way to understand what's the best benefits for you, and obviously everybody here can keep learning and moving forward on their own health. So I thank you for joining me this evening. Feel free, like I say, stick around, mill around the products if you have any more personal questions. But thank you. Have a great night. Enjoy your happy 4th of July weekend. So, praise God to the actual country of America. I hope we actually survive. Of course. Uh-huh. Mammograms. I did. Yeah. Strong enough. Right. Sorry. Drinking. Why? Yeah. Yeah. Carlos is awesome. But no, that's fantastic. Do you have a website or something that we can give out, Evelyn? Or just the name? Well, Glee does the scan. This gentleman will do the interpretation. 6 months, yep. Wonderful. Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining. Have a great night. We'll see you later.